This is Deges recording for Planning for Instruction through Fort Hays State University, ALTC 802VC, and this is Module 5 Technology. And so the four pieces of technology that I would like to cover today would be Canva, Flipgrid, Padlet, and Prezi. So I want to start off with Canva first, and Canva is one of my favorites, as I'm sure since you've probably read my discussion board and now you're watching this video, I talked about Canva in both. And Canva is something that, because I teach marketing, I think it's important for students to know that Canva is a great resource for if you have your own business or if you're working as a marketer for someone else. I personally, everything that you see right here is for my business In the Mix, which is a bakery. And I really stress to my students that I do everything for In the Mix through Canva. I do not pay for anything, and I'm able to do all of my marketing and advertising for free. And I usually describe Canva as a very, very, very easy Photoshop. It's an easy way to create graphics for anything. Sometimes during our opportunity period, which is like our homeroom, I have students creating posters to hang on their bedroom wall. So it's really great for anything. The reason that I selected this one to cover today is just because I feel like a lot of people hear about it, but it's really not impactful until they see everything that Canva has to offer, especially considering that it's free. Most of the time when I tell other teachers about Canva, they're like, this is free? Are you sure? Like, this has a lot of features. And so I think it's really neat there. And it maximizes the student learning and impacts the students because it really lets them be creative. Many times when I give them an assignment through Canva, I do not give them a lot of requirements. One of the examples that I do with Canva outside of like making advertisements is when the students read something and I ask them to write a reflection, instead of just writing a paragraph or typing a paragraph and sending it to me, I have them create a Canva graphic. So I might tell them, hey, I want 4 key points, I want a header, I want color, and I want one picture. And so then the students really, they're like, okay, she really doesn't want much. Now I get to go in and I get to be creative and I would get to do what I want to do. Maybe they want to try something new. Maybe they want to use a template, or maybe they want to step out of their comfort zone and start something from scratch. Whatever they're doing, they're pushing themselves just a little bit further, using their critical thinking, using their design skills inside to help them learn more. And they're learning these skills that they can take with them outside of high school. And so for Canva, it's really pretty great. So I'm just going to click this poster. They have a lot of different templates that you can do. So when you first click on it, it's going to show up as a blank page. I can come over here on the left and I can change my background. I can add some text if I wanted to. I can change the color of that text. I can upload a picture. A lot of these shapes the students like to use to kind of create like geographical stuff. I was doing an Easter graphic, and so I have a lot of Easter eggs showing. They can create charts in here, and over here they can put their charts in there. So even for like science or math, creating charts with statistics. You can also go in here and you can use templates. And so if there's a career expo happening at the high school, I may come in here and just simply take this career expo and change the information. But if I'm doing something computer related, I had a student, we were talking about digital citizenship, and this was computers and phones. And so they were like, oh, well, that has the computers in there for me. And then they changed the information. So they used what Canva gave them. They took away the sunglasses and they added like the Facebook logo. And so it really just gives them the opportunity to kind of take what they have and really work with it. I've had people take this when we just completed an ice cream project. And so they took this one and they replaced all the pineapples with ice cream cones. But it gave them that inspiration and that idea to kind of take it one step further. And so that is Canva. And Flipgrid is the second one that I want to talk about. Flipgrid is something that I don't implement as much as I would like to. And so I have a sticky note on my computer that says Flipgrid to really remind me, hey, go check this out. Make sure you're doing this when you are lesson planning. And so with Flipgrid, with their free, they limit you to how many grids you can have. So I actually only have 1 grid for this entire semester. And then I just kind of break down each topic is kind of their question, essentially. So the first week of school, we learned about the Mac operating system. And I asked students to go in and create a quick little video giving a tip on something that they learned about the Mac during this little introduction. And so the students went in and they were able to just create a video and they can go back and like it. They can like somebody else's. They can view someone else's. I don't know how he got 56 views, but I think he might have watched his own quite a bit. And so, again, you can kind of do that with my third block, my internet marketing. We were learning about the difference in demographics between Facebook and Instagram and how those impact the marketing side of it. And so instead of having students write a reflection on it, I asked them to do a little Flipgrid video. The best thing about Flipgrid is that I can limit how long the responses are. If I ask someone to just like go create like a quick iMovie, it's going to take them a lot longer, because when I say iMovie, they think, oh, that's at least got to be a couple minutes. Where when my students think Flipgrid, they know it's going to be quick. They know it's going to be pretty short. And so I have videos even as short as 15 seconds for the limit. I have some going 2 or 3 minutes. So you can really select how long you want that to be. What's also really fun is after they take their video, they get to take a selfie. So anytime you get the students to take in selfies, they're totally into it. The other cool thing about Flipgrid is that it can be accessed on any computer as well as a phone or an iPad. And so my students typically use theirs on their iPad, but if they don't have their iPad for that day, I let them do it on their phone because it works the exact same way. So this is something that I've used here and there, but it's something that I'm trying to use a little bit more. And I think that this really encourages students to step out of their comfort zone. A lot of the students don't like being in front of the camera. They don't like watching themselves or listening to themselves. And so it kind of makes them realize like, hey, it's okay. Or when someone else messes up, it's like, oh, he messed up too. And they feel a little bit more comfortable with it that way. And so it really does get students to kind of step out and do something different that they might not normally do. And the third one that I want to talk about is Padlet. Padlet is one that I have only used a couple times in my year and a half, and looking back, I think of so many opportunities and places that I should have used it. I went to a conference a couple weeks ago, and I was reminded of Padlet, and so that entire conference I was like, okay, I can do this with Padlet, I can do this with Padlet, and so I went through and made some notes. This is what a completed Padlet looks like, or a Padlet in process. This is from the conference. So they have these different activities with these different topics, and people can add to it. And so you can post links or pictures or charts or whatever it may be. So going back in here, Padlet is one of those that it maximizes that student learning because it just kind of gets them to think quickly. And I kind of describe Padlet as like taking a sticky note and putting it on a wall or putting it on a board, because that's essentially kind of what it is. It doesn't necessarily get people up on their feet like the sticky note would, but it gets them familiar with a new piece of technology. And I think anytime that you can expose students to a new piece of technology, they're benefiting there from that. And so one thing that I did last semester with Padlet was I did a Thanksgiving one, and it was, what are you thankful for? And I had students go in and simply put something that they were thankful for. And some of the students simply said, I'm here. I made it to school today. And other students talked about the new phone they just got or the vacation they were getting ready to go on. And to me, it didn't matter what level, how much money it was that it impacted what they were thankful for. It didn't matter. As long as they were thankful for something and they knew that they had something to be thankful for, that was kind of the impact that it had for me. One of the things that I was going to do coming up for spring break that I can actually just create this Padlet now is for spring break. And so what are you going to be doing over spring break? And so it kind of puts a template in here automatically. Every time you come on here, it's going to be a little bit different. So I'm going to see if I can find one that's kind of maybe beachy or spring break. We'll do some grass. Hopefully we'll be outside. Hopefully there won't be snow on the grass. Oh, we want to go back here. You can do a dark theme or a light theme. And so I'm going to, oh gosh darn it, I cannot, okay. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to change it to spring break. What are your plans? So then I can save this, and when I go in here to share, it's going to give me the option if I want it public, if I want it password protected. I typically just leave it public. That way it's easy for the students to access. They don't necessarily have to log in, and they're not sharing confidential information on here. I always put this on the board so the entire class can see it. They can see it on whatever device they're on. So whenever you have that, you share your QR code here. You can print it if you want. You can copy the link and like paste it in their Google Classroom, share it on Google Classroom, however you want to do it. So when students are ready, or even if I want to add something, I just go to the little add. Usually I have them title it as their name, and then they put their plans here, and then they just share. So maybe if they're going to like a geography class, maybe they're traveling somewhere, you're doing a project, they can actually put in a map. They can add a location. They can draw something. They can record their voice. They can take a picture of themselves, insert a link to somewhere that they're going, or whatever it may be. And so Padlet is a really great resource for like a bell work, just something quick. And it can even be like a quick check for understanding, similar to Flipgrid, but it's more just that handwritten, that they just do it and you know, hey, you have to have this done before you can leave today, earn your points. You can also, if you want to do something that's a little bit more anonymous, you can not have them put their name there. And then if you're asking for feedback on something, they know, you just kind of have to know your students and know how they're going to handle not having their name on there and if they're going to take advantage of that or not. So this is Padlet. And then the last one that I want to talk about is Prezi. So when I describe Prezi to my students, I describe it as a fancy PowerPoint. I don't use Prezi a whole lot. It's something that I'm still learning. I learned a little bit about it in college, and some teachers are starting to use it a little bit more here. And so I've tried incorporating it instead of just doing the normal Google Slides or PowerPoint. And so it's one of those that I really encourage using a template because it can be complicated. However, I have students that they're like, you know what, I'm learning something new, go big or go home, and they want to use something from scratch. They don't want to use a template. It always turns out great, but it usually takes them a little bit longer. But for some of those students, that's okay. That's what they like. And so the Prezi increases the student learning, and similar to the Canva, where it just kind of makes them think a little bit more. It gives them the opportunity to kind of click and play and just experiment with it and problem solve. I think that's one of the biggest things that our students are having a hard time learning is problem solving. When they don't know something, they ask someone, and they don't ever really sit there and think about it themselves. So when I do use Prezi, I often encourage them to try 3 or 4 methods before they ask me. I ask them to search a YouTube video or look for a tutorial. And I don't do that because I don't want to help them. I want to help them, but helping them is also teaching them to do those things, because in the real world, your boss isn't going to be okay with you just asking them a question all the time. So Prezi is one of those that it really is a learning moment for a lot of my students because it pushes them a little bit more. And so for here, I did a different template. So I'm just going to click on this first one. It tells me that it's a novice, so it tells me, hey, if you're new at this, this is great for you. We're just going to title it test. The only way you can do it with just the people that you share it with is if you pay for it. So we always have to do anyone on the web, as if you want the free. And then we wait for it to load. So this is just kind of where now we just kind of get to start playing with it. And so you can see the different sections over here on the left where they're kind of grouped together. And so when you click on it, it kind of takes you through. So maybe I want to change this to tips and tricks. I don't know what this is over, but that's just kind of what came to my mind. And then I can change my text here. I can change my text. I can move it if I wanted to, like maybe I didn't like them so close to each other. I can add the different animations, and the animations is really what makes Prezi a little bit more complicated. It's not as simple as adding a transition in Google Slides. And so it really just makes students think and gives them something different than just the traditional. Also, the great thing that I love about Prezi, is that it's a little bit more, it seems more interactive. It zooms in, it zooms out, it does something different. And so if you are ever giving a presentation, it's a little bit more fun to watch than just a bunch of boxes going over. So that's what I have for you. We talked about Canva, Flipgrid, Padlet, and then Prezi. And I hope that maybe you learned something and that you understand how I use these different pieces of technology and how I hope to incorporate them more into my classroom. Thank you.